Okay, I'm back. Um, so we have done A and B, print a list of the faculty and the names, read the file, print it out, figure out how many courses they're teaching and print that out. Now I want to modify it to include the total number of different preparations. So a prep, if it's the same course, it's not going to count. So if someone is teaching 4 of the same classes, they have 4 courses and 1 prep. Or if teaching 2 of the same classes twice, it's 2 courses and 2 preps. So in that last video, it's funny when you get a little flustered, and I know this because I know it happens to everyone. I want you to know it happens to everyone. It reminded me of the first time I taught this course. I didn't know Java. I was maybe a couple of weeks ahead of the students, and I know computer science. I know the logic, but I didn't know the syntax of the language. And even to this day, like, I'm not a big coder in Java. I don't go. You are probably doing more coding than I am. If you're doing this class right, you should be doing a lot more coding than I am, because I'm teaching some of the logic, but I'm not. After I teach it, I don't go do any coding. So, okay, it's sort of like I teach math, but I don't do a lot of math, right? The student should be doing a lot more math than the instructor is doing. I don't need to do that math again. Okay, but in computer science, because syntax is somewhat important, I can know the logic as much as I want, but if I don't know the syntax, I'm gonna run into some problems. And it's hard under the pressure of the video to be like, what do I do? In class, it's not a big deal because I usually just ask someone like, hey, what am I doing wrong? And someone will be like, oh, you need to pass that in as a parameter or whatever. But also, I know from personal experience, I skipped step C. I went ahead to step D thinking it would be easy, and then my logic was off, and I tried to code my way out of logic. And what happens when you try to do that is you end up sort of adding code on, and the more code you add, the tendency is for the code to get very convoluted and complicated. And I see this a lot when I grade stuff, and I'm like, whoa, what'd they do? I can usually tell when you started by coding as opposed to starting on paper or figuring out the logic first. Okay, so we want to modify the code to indicate the total number of preps. So this is tricky. We have this while loop. So let's go back and look at the logic here. We're saying while it has another line. So while there's another line, while it has the next line, we're calling this function called process data or process line, right? I'm going to switch to green. And in process line, what's happening? Process data line, whatever. We're reading in the next line. We're ignoring the first word. We're getting the first and last name, creating those. So I've gotten to past the names, and now I'm saying, while there's something left. So in process line here, I'm getting the names. Maybe I should have a function get name there, and I can do all that name business in that function if I wanted, or I can just kind of block it out like this. But then I have another while loop that says while it has something left. So we have a variable here. We're counting the courses. Course count 0. I'm gonna need a prep count as well. So let's set up here a prep count. And then I have this while loop. So let me make it red. I don't know why. Christmas colors. Red and green. While there's more stuff. Okay, what are we gonna do? Well, right now we're saying read the next thing in and increase the count. So fine, except when I read the next thing in now, I need to save it. So I want to save that in some kind of temp word or course. Let's call it a course. Course equals the next thing. And the count is getting increased. And the prep should get increased right here. Okay. But now I want to know, is there something else after this? right? So because I have a course and in the beginning I have at least one prep, that's why I'm increasing the prep here. But I want to know, is there something next? Okay, so how do I check if there's something else? Well, I want to say if it has something next, so really this is whatever the scanner is called, if the scanner has something next. So what I want to do is, if it's the same, I want to go ahead and just read it on, but not increase the prep, but increase the count. So if it has a next, then I want to read it in. I want to check if next dot equals the course that we just had. So this is going to read it. Shoot, so I need to save it somewhere in case they're not the same. So I think I need to save it somewhere in here, call it course 2 equals the next thing. And then you say if course 2 dot equals course, if they're the same, then increase the count, but not the prep. Otherwise, set the course equal to course 2, they're different, and increase the count and increase the prep. Think about that logic. So it's tricky because we can't read it if it's not there. So we have to be careful to make sure we have something else. So we're in this while loop. While it has something else, we're assigning course to that thing. We're increasing the count and the prep. Then we're saying if it has something else, call it course 2 and read it in. Okay. Now, if course 2 equals course that we already read in, then increase the count. Increase the count, and then you don't need to reassign because they're the same. So then the loop, you'll then go back up to the top of the loop and you'll say, while it has another, course equals the next one, so it'll just move on. Increase the count, increase the prep. What if they're the same? It's tricky. So that's not going to work because when I go back to the while loop again, it's not going to like this. So I think this increasing of count here doesn't happen yet. I'm like, let's just try it, but I know it's not going to work. Let me pause. Think about it for a second. It's good for you guys to see the thinking going on. So while it has another one, so so what we want to do is we want to look at what happens when you have some data here. So I want to put in like, let's go 141, 141, 142. So does it have something else? Yes. This gets assigned the value of course. We increase the counts, both counts, so CC and PC. CC is 1, PC is 1. It comes down here, it says if it has another one, it does. Then course 2 equals that. if course 2 dot equals course 1, it does increase the count by 1. So that's now going to be 2, but don't increase the other one, the prep count. Then the loop ends, and it says while it has another one, which it does, it's 142. But if this again is 141, it'll increase the prep again. So maybe this is the bad guy here. It's weird because you can't read too far ahead. You always have to make sure there's something left before you read it in. So we read it in and we need to compare it to the last one. And if they're equal, we don't want to increase the prep. Okay, I think that's going to work if we just increase the prep in here. So let's see what happens. So we go to here. While it has next, it does. Course equals next. So course is 141. Make this red so you can see what I'm doing. And it says increase the course. So we have one course. Then if it has another, it does. Make it course 2, which we did. If course 2 equals course, it does. Increase the count. And we didn't increase the prep. It's weird. Otherwise, course equals course 2. Oh, okay, now this is fine. So we now have 2, and then we go to the next, so now this is course 2. That's okay. So then we go back into our thing. Does it have another one? Yes. Course equals next. So now course is this 142. And we still don't have one, we don't even have one prep. Course is 142. Count increases by 1. If it has another one, it doesn't. Oh. I don't think I'm gonna do this video. Sorry. All right, let me pause.